Hi there. Today, I want to talk to you about why most business plans don't work and what to do instead. My name is Boomy Tokan. Thanks for joining me today. Now, most people think I need a business plan before I start my business. You actually don't need a full business plan before you start your business. Some people think that they need to research everything, gather together every bit of information, try and forecast everything possible, then start the business. The problem I've discovered with that is this. People are spending weeks planning. It's not uncommon for me to meet somebody and I ask them, hey, since the last time we met, you said you were going to start your business. What's happened? And they said to me, oh, yeah, I'm working on it. I'm still researching. I'm like, you've researched for over 2 years. Yeah, have not found out everything I need to know. Somebody said I need to know about everything before I start my business. The answer is no, you don't. They still feel unsure. There is a delay in starting, and things are not going to go according to plan until you actually use a new system of working. Because if you are researching before you start your business, only if that's all you do is research what somebody else has done, and you think it's going to work for you that way, you're just making assumptions. And nowadays, assumptions is not the best way forward. So here's now the question. What if the problem is not you? What if it's just the approach you've been using that is the key issue? So the problem is not you, it's just the way that you've been working that needs to change. That's why it is different from building a house. Most of us are familiar with what happens when we want to build a house. Or you're renovating your house. At least in most countries, you need to first of all apply for planning permission. When you get that, you now need to start designing you may have designed the kind of house you want before you apply for planning permission anyway. So you get an architect, you draw up or design what you want, and then you get a quantity surveyor to give you how much it's going to cost by telling you all the materials necessary. Then you follow that plan to a T. You dare not deviate from the plan. Otherwise, the planning people are going to come down hard on you. And that makes sense because there are so many limitations that you have to follow to ensure that you actually build a house that is compatible with the plans you have received. Okay, I understand that. I want to understand that. Now, the outcome of your house is fixed from the beginning, and everything is predictable. Mistakes are very expensive. You might have to tear down a wall to rebuild it. So you make sure you follow everything to the T. And we have taken that same mindset into putting together a business plan today. That is the problem, my friends. The reason why I say that is a business plan is different. A business is not fixed like building a house is. Your land is fixed. The size of your land is fixed. Everything is fixed when you talk about building a house. But that mindset cannot be translated into the way you write your business plan or in the way you put together your business plan, because you don't fully know your customers until you start talking to them. You don't really know how good your idea is until you start testing it. You don't really know how the market will respond until you start getting feedback and you start moving in the right direction. I suggest to you that a better way of thinking about a business plan nowadays is to think about it from the perspective of cooking. I say, well, how does that work? Well, here's how it works. You don't have an architect, you don't have an engineer, you don't have construction, you're cooking. So you use the skills that you have, you get together your ingredients, you use your instinct, and in real time, you are adjusting. Oh, that needs a little bit more salt. Oh, that needs a little bit more pepper. Oh, that needs a little bit more oil. So you adjust as you go along. That's the objective of writing a business plan in today's environment. You just start with what you have. You know roughly what outcome you want, and you know in your mind what the food needs to taste like. And everything you do from beginning to end is about you adjusting as you go along. That is the way forward. My daughter runs a baking business. And to be honest, in the beginning, a customer came, she didn't have a plan, okay? She didn't have a plan. She just loved to bake. And so somebody said, oh, I'll pay you. Can you bake a cake for my daughter's birthday? And she goes, yeah, I'll do it. So she got paid. She used their money to buy the ingredients, put together the cake. They paid for it. They told other people told other people, and people started coming to her. Can you bake a cake for me? Yeah. She goes, oh, yeah, give me a deposit and I'll bake it. And the business has blossomed since then. That is the way it needs to work for you also right now. That's the way you put together your plan. If you are sat down and sat there and thinking, oh, yeah, I want to run a baking business. So what do? I go research. Okay, I need to use this much. Okay, I need to know, I need to get my, website sorted, as people have been advised today. That's such a wrong advice. Go get your website done. Go register your company. No, that's not the way to do it. You don't even know whether that company is the name that is preferred by your customers. You don't even know whether it's the best way to go. You don't know what should be on your website because you don't know what your customers want to read about. There's so many wrong approaches to putting together a business plan these days that are flying around. So she used what she had, and she let the customers fund the process. And that's something we're going to be talking about later on. With one order, one customer, one cake, the business has blossomed since then. So there's one more thing that I want you to consider. I want you to consider that writing a business plan or putting together a business plan is like having a conversation. You cannot script every single word you're going to say, otherwise you're going to be sounding like a robot, right? That's not how we have conversations. This is how we have conversations. We make an offer. For example, you're talking to a customer. The customer responds. You adjust what you want to say next, and then you improve. You go back with a counter offer. The customer responds. You adjust, and the conversation evolves. As that conversation evolves, you both come to the place of agreement. That is the same as putting together a plan. Putting together a plan right now is like having a conversation. The conversation gets richer the more you talk to each other. You find more value in what each other can do, and you become more profitable as you have the talks together. Again, like I said in my previous video, the idea of plan a little, act upon what you have heard, learn, and then plan again, that's the way forward. So you plan just enough to take the next step, not the next 5 years. Don't plan for 5 years yet. You don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. Who knew how much of an impact AI would have had on our lives? You couldn't have predicted it. Or sadly, how much COVID will have changed our lives. You couldn't have predicted it. So you plan a little, not just enough for the next step. What's the next step you need to take? That's what you need to be thinking about. Take action on that next step. Learn what happens in that next step. Then plan again. And then you keep going right round in this cycle. Before you know it, you have a business plan that works. So if you think about it, the old way of planning was, you just spend months, building this detailed business plan, this 20, 30, 40-page business plan. I've done all those things before, right? But the new way is you start with what you have. That's the adaptive part of it. You test what you have, and then you plan again. So you start, you test, you plan. In other words, what you are doing is you're going around this loop that I showed you earlier on, this loop of plan a little, act, learn, and plan. Plan a little, Act, learn, and plan. I want you to memorize that if possible. Plan a little, act, learn, and plan. Plan a little, act, learn, and also plan. That is the way forward. So you don't need a perfect start. You don't need a perfect plan to start your business. You just need something very simple. You need a simple plan that you can use. All right. If all this truly makes sense to you, then if you want to learn a little bit more, I want you to, believe and know that you can start small, you can start now, you can let the reality of what you are experiencing guide you, and you can plan as you go. So if you want the full system, I've just put together a full workshop where I can walk you through everything that I've been talking about step by step. All right, then. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, then do like it. If you like it, do subscribe to the channel. And if you like it, do share it. And I'll talk to you soon. Thank you and God bless.